Hands behind your back, now! You people never learn. Metal bites into Judge Amara Collins's wrists outside the federal courthouse. Her $2,000 suit crumples against cold police metal as Officer Bryant slams her briefcase down, scattering legal briefs across rain-soaked concrete. Morning commuters freeze, phones recording the spectacle. "I'm here on official court business," Amara states, voice steady despite the public humiliation. "Save it," Bryant snarls, tightening the cuffs until she winces. "We know exactly what kind of business you have." Officer Daniels smirks, grinding her designer shoes into a puddle. "Bet that cost more than my monthly salary." Neither officer notices the judicial robes spilling from her garment bag, belonging to the newly appointed federal judge scheduled to preside over their department's misconduct hearing in exactly 15 minutes. Little do they know who they've just publicly humiliated. Judge Amara Collins, 45, arrives at the courthouse for her first day presiding over the Eastern District. Appointed after a distinguished career prosecuting police misconduct cases, she parks her modest sedan in the general lot instead of the reserved judicial spaces. Her nameplate hasn't been installed yet. Dressed in an elegant pantsuit with her hair in a professional updo, she carries her judge's robes in a garment bag. She notices Officers Bryant and Daniels watching her approach, their eyes following her with unmasked suspicion despite her professional appearance. The officers whisper to each other. Bryant, a 15-year veteran with 3 prior complaints for excessive force, nudges Daniels. "She doesn't look like she belongs here," he mutters. "Probably another protester for that cop case today." Daniels, newer to the force but eager to impress, nods in agreement. "Should we check her out?" Meanwhile, Amara notices their scrutiny but continues walking confidently. She thinks about the irony. She's here to preside over a high-profile police brutality case involving their very department. Her thoughts drift to her late father, also a judge, who warned her about the challenges she'd face in the justice system. Court clerk Thomas Reynolds waits inside, repeatedly checking his watch. "Judge Collins should have been here by now," he tells the bailiff. "Her first case starts in 30 minutes, that controversial police misconduct hearing." Outside, Bryant makes his decision and steps directly into Amara's path. "Excuse me, ma'am. This entrance is for court officials only." Despite the public entrance sign clearly visible above the doors, Amara maintains her composure. "I'm aware." "I'm heading inside for court." Bryant exchanges knowing glances with Daniels. "We'll need to see some ID first." The hand that reaches for her ID will soon bang the gavel on their careers. Amara reaches for her credentials, but Bryant's stance changes. He steps closer, invading her personal space. "Actually, there's been reports of someone fitting your description causing trouble here yesterday." A complete fabrication. Amara was in Washington, D.C. yesterday finalizing her relocation. "That's impossible. I wasn't even in the state yesterday." Daniels circles behind her. "That's what they all say." Several courthouse employees pass by, averting their eyes despite recognizing something isn't right. A young paralegal slows down, concerned, but Bryant waves him away. "Police business. Move along." Amara maintains her dignity. "Officers, I'm simply trying to enter the courthouse for official business." There's clearly a misunderstanding. Bryant scoffs. "Yeah? What kind of official business brings you here?" "I'm here for a case," she responds calmly. "Which case?" Daniels demands, his hand now resting on his holster. "The United States versus Officers Petrovich and Saunders," Amara states evenly. Bryant's expression hardens. "The protesters are around the block. You're not getting in here to disrupt proceedings." "I'm not here to protest," Amara explains, reaching again for her ID. "Hands where I can see them!" Bryant shouts suddenly, causing nearby pedestrians to turn and stare. Inside, Court Clerk Reynolds grows increasingly anxious, checking his phone for messages from the missing judge. The Chief Justice appears in the doorway. "Where is Judge Collins?" "We have a full docket and press waiting." Outside, the confrontation escalates as Bryant grabs Amara's arm. "You're being uncooperative." "Turn around." Amara stays calm but firm. "You have no grounds to detain me. I'm asking you to let me proceed into the courthouse." "And I'm telling you to turn around now," Bryant growls, his grip tightening. Every second of this humiliation is being recorded, not just by bystanders, but by the courthouse security cameras that will soon become Exhibit A. Bryant spins Amara around, forcing her against their patrol car. Her garment bag drops to the ground, the black judicial robes partially visible through the unzipped portion. Neither officer notices. "Spread your legs," Bryant commands loudly, kicking at her ankles to widen her stance. Amara complies while maintaining her dignity. "This is completely unnecessary. I've done nothing wrong." Daniels roughly grabs her briefcase, dumping the contents onto the hood of the car. Legal briefs, case files, and her personal items scatter across the metal surface. Her judicial commission certificate slides out, face down. What's this? Planning to cause trouble inside. Bryant picks up a legal brief about police accountability standards. A small crowd has gathered now. Phones record the incident as Amara stands spread-eagled against the police car. Her cheeks burn with humiliation, but her voice remains steady. "Those are confidential legal documents. You have no right to search them without cause." Bryant laughs. "We have cause. You're acting suspicious outside a courthouse where there's a sensitive police case today." Daniels begins handcuffing her. The cold metal bites into her wrists as he intentionally makes them too tight. "Maybe a trip downtown will improve your attitude." Inside the courthouse, Reynolds calls Judge Collins's cell phone again. It rings in her purse, still on the hood of the police car outside. "Something's wrong," Reynolds tells the Chief Justice. "She confirmed yesterday she'd be here early to review final motions." Meanwhile, a courthouse security guard named Simmons finally approaches the scene outside. "What's going on here, officers?" "Just handling a potential troublemaker," Bryant responds dismissively. Simmons looks uncertain. "Does the chief know you're conducting stops right at the entrance today?" "Mind your business, rent-a-cop," Daniels snaps. Amara, still composed despite her position, addresses Simmons directly. "Sir, could you please inform Court Clerk Reynolds that Judge Collins is being detained outside?" Bryant laughs. "Judge? That's a good one." Simmons's eyes widen in recognition. "Wait, are you saying you're the new federal judge?" "She's lying," Daniels insists, tightening the cuffs another notch, making Amara wince. Amara meets Simmons' eyes. "Eastern District, appointed last month. I'm due to hear the Petrovich and Saunders case in 20 minutes. Bryant grabs her arm roughly. "Shut up with the lies. One more word and I'll add resisting arrest." Every painful second ticking by brings these officers closer to the moment they'll stand before her bench. Amara falls silent, making a mental note of every procedural violation. Years prosecuting police misconduct cases taught her patience evidence gathering comes before justice. She allows this humiliation to continue, knowing each moment strengthens the case she'll build. Simmons backs away, conflicted. "I should check on this," he mutters. "Stay right there," Bryant orders, but Simmons shakes his head. "I need to radio my supervisor." He steps just out of earshot, speaking urgently into his radio. Bryant turns back to Amara. "Now we're going to take a little ride downtown." "On what charges?" Amara asks calmly. "Trespassing, disorderly conduct, resisting an officer. I'll figure it out on the way," Bryant smirks. Inside the courthouse, Reynolds receives an alarming call from security. His face pales as he interrupts the Chief Justice. "Sir, security thinks officers Bryant and Daniels are detaining Judge Collins outside." The Chief Justice's expression darkens. "They're what?" Meanwhile, District Attorney Elena Vasquez arrives at the courthouse, immediately noticing the commotion. She recognizes Amara from their previous work together on the Police Accountability Task Force. "What the hell is happening here?" she demands, approaching the officers. Bryant steps forward. Ma'am, please step back. This is police business. I'm District Attorney Vasquez, and you appear to be detaining someone without cause on courthouse property. Daniels shifts uncomfortably. We received reports of a suspicious person. Vasquez looks at Amara, recognition dawning. Officers, do you have any idea who this woman is? Bryant rolls his eyes. Another person claiming to be important. She says she's a judge. She is a judge, Vasquez states flatly. Federal Judge Amara Collins, newly appointed to the Eastern District and, if I'm not mistaken, presiding over your department's misconduct hearing this morning. The blood drains from Daniels's face, but Bryant remains defiant. She has no identification proving that. Because you haven't allowed me to show it to you, Amara says quietly. Vasquez takes out her phone, making a call. Chief Williams? Your officers Bryant and Daniels are currently handcuffing Federal Judge Collins outside the courthouse. Yes, the same Judge Collins who's hearing the misconduct case today. Security Chief Martinez bursts through the courthouse doors with Reynolds and 2 court officers behind him. Release her immediately! The handcuffs haven't just restrained her wrists. They've sealed the officer's fate. Bryant hesitates, weighing his options as the situation spirals beyond his control. His pride won't let him back down easily. We need to verify her identity first, he insists, despite the growing number of courthouse officials gathering around them. Chief Martinez steps forward. Remove those cuffs now, Officer Bryant. Daniels reaches for the handcuff key, but Bryant stops him with a look. We're following procedure. For all we know, this could be an elaborate distraction. Amara remains composed, her gaze steady on Bryant. Officer, you've made a series of poor decisions this morning. Each passing second only compounds your errors. Inside, the Chief Justice emerges onto the courthouse steps, his distinguished presence immediately commanding attention. What is the meaning of this? Reynolds explains the situation as courthouse staff begin collecting Amara's scattered documents. The Chief Justice approaches Bryant with barely contained fury. I am Chief Justice Harrington. You are currently detaining a federal judge appointed by the President of the United States. Release her immediately. Bryant finally realizes the gravity of his mistake, but his pride pushes him to double down. Sir, we received reports of suspicious activity. We're just doing our job. Your job? The Chief Justice's voice is dangerously quiet. Your job is to uphold the law, not to profile and harass a distinguished member of the federal judiciary. More police arrive, including Captain Foster, Bryant, and Daniels' direct supervisor. His face shows horror as he takes in the scene. What have you done? He whispers to Bryant, then turns to Amara. Judge Collins, I cannot begin to express— Save it for the courtroom, Captain, Amara interrupts, her voice level. The cuffs, please. As Daniels finally removes the handcuffs, he notices a small scar on Amara's wrist, identical to one described in a landmark case where a young black law student was wrongfully detained and went on to become a renowned civil rights attorney. The cuffs are off her wrists, but the officers have just shackled their own careers. Captain Foster attempts damage control. Judge Collins, please accept my deepest apologies. These officers will be disciplined immediately. Amara rubs her wrists, red marks visible where the cuffs bit into her skin. Captain, save your apologies. This isn't about me personally. Bryant mutters under his breath. Still think this is overblown. Amara catches this, fixing him with a penetrating stare. Officer Bryant, what was your probable cause for detaining me? Caught off guard by the direct question, Bryant stammers. You matched a description. Suspicious activity reported near the courthouse. What description specifically? Amara presses, her prosecutor's instincts taking over. A report came in about someone planning to disrupt court proceedings, he claims weakly. DA Vasquez interjects. That's interesting because I just checked with dispatch. No such reports were filed this morning. The crowd of onlookers has grown larger. Several journalists covering the police misconduct hearing have noticed the commotion and begun filming. The Chief Justice checks his watch. Judge Collins, your court is scheduled to begin in 10 minutes. These officers are actually appearing before you today, are they not? Amara nods calmly. Yes. Officers Petrovich and Saunders from the same precinct, regarding excessive force allegations. Captain Foster looks physically ill. Your Honor, these officers aren't involved in that case. Perhaps they should be excused from duty today while we— No, Amara cuts him off. Officer Bryant made a point about following procedure. I intend to do exactly that. Court Clerk Reynolds has recovered Amara's judicial robes. She takes them with dignity, addressing the watching crowd. The rule of law applies to everyone equally. Today's proceedings will continue as scheduled. The same hands that forced her against a police car will soon stand trembling before her bench. Amara walks with measured steps through the courthouse corridor, flanked by the Chief Justice and court security. Behind them, Bryant and Daniels are escorted by Captain Foster, their expressions showing the first real traces of fear. Courthouse staff stare openly, word of the incident spreading like wildfire. Bryant's face flushes with anger and embarrassment. This is ridiculous, he hisses to Daniels. She was acting suspicious. Anyone would have stopped her. Daniels looks less certain. Maybe we should have checked her ID first. Too late for that now, Captain Foster cuts in. You two have potentially compromised a federal case and embarrassed the entire department. In the judicial chambers, Amara changes into her robes with steady hands. Court Clerk Reynolds brings her the case files for the day. Your Honor, the misconduct hearing is scheduled first. The defendants and their counsel are already in the courtroom. He hesitates. As are Officers Bryant and Daniels. Captain Foster has requested they be present for the proceedings. Good, Amara responds, reviewing the files. And has Defense Counsel Henderson arrived? Yes, Your Honor. She's asked about possibly filing additional motions in light of recent events. Amara closes the file. Tell her we'll address all motions according to proper procedure. Reynolds shifts uncomfortably. Judge Collins, if I may. There are several reporters in the courtroom. News of the incident outside has spread. Justice isn't conducted in secret, Mr. Reynolds, Amara replies, rising from her desk. The truth rarely benefits from darkness. Outside the courtroom, Captain Foster makes a desperate phone call to the police commissioner. Sir, we have a situation that could explode in our faces. Bryant and Daniels just detained the federal judge who's hearing our misconduct case. The commissioner's response is explosive. They did what? As Amara prepares to enter the courtroom, she touches a small medallion hidden beneath her robes, a gift from Justice Thurgood Marshall during her clerkship, a reminder of their shared commitment to transforming the justice system from within. The gavel she's about to pick up weighs only ounces, but will soon feel like tons to those who wronged her. All rise for the Honorable Judge Amara Collins, Eastern District Court. The courtroom falls silent as Amara enters in her judicial robes, her expression serene yet formidable. Bryant and Daniels stand with their fellow officers, their faces draining of color as they recognize the woman they had handcuffed just 30 minutes earlier. Be seated, Amara instructs, taking her place at the bench. Her gaze sweeps the courtroom without lingering on Bryant or Daniels. Judge Amara Collins is not just any federal judge. She was formerly the Department of Justice's chief prosecutor for police misconduct cases nationwide, personally responsible for reforming 12 police departments across the country. Her appointment to the federal bench was specifically to address systemic issues in law enforcement accountability. Before we proceed with the scheduled case, I need to address an incident that occurred this morning, Amara begins, her voice carrying throughout the silent courtroom. Defense Counsel Henderson rises. Your Honor, in light of what transpired outside this courthouse, we question whether today's proceedings can continue impartially. Counselor, if you're suggesting that my experience as a victim of police misconduct disqualifies me from hearing a police misconduct case, you might want to reconsider that logic, Amara responds evenly. The police commissioner has slipped into the back of the courtroom, his face grim as he observes. However, Amara continues, I understand the concern. Let me be clear. What happened to me personally will not affect my judgment of the case before this court today. She turns her attention to Bryant and Daniels. Officers Bryant and Daniels, step forward. They approach the bench reluctantly, all eyes in the courtroom following them. You detained me without cause, searched my belongings without consent, and publicly humiliated me in front of the courthouse where I preside, Amara states, her voice calm but powerful. Under normal circumstances, I would recuse myself from any matter involving you. Bryant stares at the floor while Daniels visibly trembles. However, your actions this morning were witnessed by dozens of people, courthouse security cameras, and now appear to be circulating on social media. The facts aren't in dispute. She continues, I'm therefore ordering an immediate investigation by the Department of Justice into patterns of conduct at your precinct. Captain Foster, this investigation will extend to supervisory practices and training protocols. Captain Foster nods grimly, avoiding eye contact with his officers. As for Officers Bryant and Daniels, you are both hereby suspended from duty pending that investigation. You will surrender your badges and firearms to court security before leaving this building. Bryant finally finds his voice. Your Honor, with all due respect, you can't— I absolutely can, Amara interrupts, her voice like steel. And I've just begun. The U.S. Marshals will escort you both to processing. She addresses the entire courtroom now. Let today serve as a reminder. No one is above the law, especially those entrusted to enforce it. The authority granted to police officers comes with extraordinary responsibility. When that trust is violated, accountability must follow swiftly. The gallery erupts in murmurs as Bryant and Daniels are led away. The police commissioner approaches the bench as Amara calls a 15-minute recess. Judge Collins, he begins quietly, I want to personally apologize. Commissioner, Amara interrupts, save your apology. Instead, explain to me how officers with histories of similar complaints remain on active duty in your department. She removes a file from her bench. Officer Bryant has 7 prior excessive force complaints, all dismissed without investigation. Officer Daniels, despite being newer to the force, already has 3. The commissioner's shock is genuine. How did you— I made it my business to know, Amara replies. Before accepting this appointment, I studied the patterns of misconduct in every department within my jurisdiction. Your department has appeared on my radar repeatedly. The reckoning that began with handcuffs outside is about to transform an entire police department from the bench inside. The fallout is immediate and far-reaching. At police headquarters, internal affairs officers seal Bryant and Daniels' lockers and begin pulling their case files. The police union representatives huddle in urgent consultation, recognizing that defending the officers' actions will be nearly impossible given the public nature of the incident. Commissioner Williams addresses assembled precinct commanders in the emergency meeting room. This stops today, he announces, slamming a folder onto the table. Judge Collins has given us 1 week to implement immediate reforms before the DOJ launches a formal investigation. A veteran commander objects. Sir, with all due respect, one incident— This isn't about one incident, the commissioner cuts him off. This is about a pattern that Judge Collins has apparently been tracking for years. She didn't end up in our jurisdiction by accident. He distributes documents detailing complaint histories across precincts. She's compiled more data on our misconduct issues than our own internal affairs division. Across town, Mayor Santiago faces reporters outside City Hall. The actions of these officers do not reflect the values of our police department or our city, she states firmly. We are cooperating fully with Judge Collins' directives and implementing immediate policy changes. A reporter shouts a question. Mayor, Social media videos show Judge Collins being profiled and handcuffed. Will there be consequences beyond the two officers involved? The mayor's expression tightens. This administration is committed to accountability at every level. Captain Foster has been placed on administrative leave pending review of supervisory practices. Meanwhile, in Judge Collins' chambers, D.A. Vasquez reviews footage from the courthouse security cameras. "This is damning, Amara," she says, using the judge's first name from their years working together. "The racial component is undeniable. They walked past dozens of people to stop you." Amara nods, reviewing documents. "Elena, I need you to understand something. This isn't about revenge." "I know," Vasquez responds. "It's about finally having the authority to create real change." "Exactly," Amara confirms. "For every judge who gets stopped, there are thousands of ordinary citizens who face this treatment daily, without cameras, without badges, without recourse." In another part of the courthouse, Bryant and Daniels sit in a holding room, the gravity of their situation sinking in. "This is insane," Bryant mutters. "We were just doing our job." Daniels looks up, anger giving way to realization. "Were we?" "Be honest. Would you have stopped her if she was white?" Bryant has no answer. The scene shifts to a law office where defense attorney Henderson meets with officers Petrovich and Saunders, the original defendants in the misconduct case. "Judge Collins has agreed to postpone your hearing in light of today's events," Henderson explains. "But make no mistake, when we return to court, she'll be scrutinizing every aspect of your case." Officer Saunders looks pale. "Could what happened today actually help us? Maybe she'll recuse herself?" Henderson shakes her head. "You don't understand. Judge Collins has spent her career prosecuting police misconduct. The officers who detained her just confirmed everything she's been fighting against. If anything, the spotlight on your case is now brighter." Back at the precinct, officers watch news coverage of the incident in stunned silence. The report includes Amara's distinguished background: top of her class at Harvard Law, Supreme Court clerk, lead prosecutor on landmark police reform cases, and now the youngest black woman ever appointed to the federal bench in their district. "Bryant really stepped in at this time," one officer mutters. Another responds, "We all did. How many times have we stopped someone without real cause?" The police commissioner enters Judge Collins' chambers, carrying a thick binder. "Your Honor, as requested, here are our current training protocols on bias, use of force, and detainment procedures." Amara takes the binder. "Thank you, Commissioner." "I've also invited representatives from 3 model departments who've successfully implemented reforms. They'll be arriving tomorrow to assess your current practices." The commissioner looks surprised. "That's unusually fast." "Justice delayed is justice denied," Amara responds simply. "You have a cultural problem, Commissioner, not just a procedural one. Officers Bryant and Daniels felt empowered to behave as they did because the environment permitted it." He nods slowly. "I understand, Your Honor." "I hope you do," she replies, "because I meant what I said in court. I've only just begun. By nightfall, videos of Judge Collins' detention have gone viral, garnering millions of views. National news networks pick up the story, framing it as a stark example of racial profiling at the highest levels of the justice system. In her hotel room, Amara watches the coverage briefly before turning off the television. She opens her laptop, reviewing the files she's compiled on the department over the past year. Her phone rings. It's the Attorney General. "Judge Collins, I've been briefed on today's incident. The DOJ stands ready to provide whatever resources you need for the investigation." "Thank you," Amara responds. "I'll have my initial recommendations ready by morning." The next day, Bryant's union representative delivers the bad news. "The union can't defend you on this one. The evidence is too clear, the optics too damaging. We're advising you to cooperate with the investigation." Bryant slams his fist on the table. "So you're abandoning me?" After 15 years of dues? No one's abandoning you, the rep sighs. But you detained a federal judge without cause on camera outside her own courthouse. There's no winning strategy here. Meanwhile, city officials convene an emergency session to discuss the implications of Judge Collins's ordered investigation. The city attorney presents a sobering analysis. If the DOJ investigation confirms systemic issues, which seems likely given Judge Collins's background and existing data, we're looking at consent decrees, federal oversight, and potentially millions in settlements for past misconduct cases. The mayor rubs her temples. And our options? Proactive cooperation is our best play, the attorney advises. Judge Collins has the authority, expertise, and now personal motivation to drive comprehensive reform. Fighting her will only make things worse. Back at the courthouse, Amara meets with a coalition of community leaders who have long advocated for police reform. For years, we've presented evidence of biased policing, a community organizer tells her. We've been ignored, dismissed, or placated with empty promises. That ends now, Amara assures them. I need your continued documentation and testimony. This isn't just about 2 officers, it's about transforming the entire approach to policing in this community. At the police academy, trainers huddle in an emergency meeting, reviewing their curriculum in light of the coming scrutiny. We need to completely overhaul the bias training module, the training director acknowledges. Judge Collins will accept nothing less than evidence-based, measurable improvements. A senior trainer shakes his head. We've been warning about these issues for years. Maybe now someone will actually listen. The handcuffs that bound her wrists for minutes will reshape this department for decades. 1 week later, Officers Bryant and Daniels sit before the police disciplinary board, with Judge Collins observing from the gallery. The hearing room is packed with officers, media, and community members. The board chairman addresses the officers. This hearing will determine whether your actions violated department policy and what disciplinary measures are appropriate. Bryant's union-appointed attorney speaks first. My clients acknowledge poor judgment was exercised during the incident with Judge Collins. However, they were responding to legitimate security concerns on a day with heightened alert due to the controversial case. Judge Collins watches impassively as security footage plays on screens throughout the room. The video is damning, clearly showing Bryant targeting Amara while ignoring other courthouse visitors. When questioned directly, Bryant remains defiant. We had reports of potential protesters. Judge Collins matched the general description. What description specifically? The board chairwoman asks. Bryant hesitates. Female, African American, approaching the courthouse alone. A murmur runs through the gallery as the racial profiling becomes explicit. Daniels, looking increasingly uncomfortable, finally breaks. That's not accurate. We had no specific reports that morning. Officer Bryant suggested we stop her because she didn't look like she belonged there. Bryant's face contorts with betrayal. That's not what happened. It is, Daniels insists, his voice stronger now. And it wasn't the first time. We've stopped dozens of people, mostly minorities, using the same justification. The board chairwoman leans forward. Officer Daniels, are you testifying that this was a pattern of behavior? Yes, Daniels admits, avoiding Bryant's glare. I was wrong to participate. Seeing everything that's happened since, I can't continue this way. Daniels' attorney presents the board with documentation dates, times, and details of similar stops conducted by Bryant, with Daniels as witness or participant. Bryant explodes. You're throwing away your career, you idiot. No, Daniels responds quietly. I'm salvaging what's left of it. The hearing concludes with the board's decision. Bryant is terminated immediately, losing his pension and certification. Daniels receives a 6-month suspension without pay, mandatory retraining, and 2 years probation. As they leave, Amara approaches Daniels. Officer, Your honesty today matters. Daniels nods solemnly. It's not enough to make up for everything, but it's a start. Bryant, watching this exchange, calls out bitterly, "This whole thing is a setup. You planned this from the beginning." Amara turns to him calmly. "Officer Bryant, I didn't plan to be profiled, detained, and humiliated. You did that entirely on your own." She walks away as Bryant is escorted out, his badge and gun already surrendered. The media swarms around the courthouse exit, cameras flashing as Bryant pushes through the crowd, his face twisted with anger. One reporter shouts above the chaos, "Officer Bryant, do you regret your actions toward Judge Collins?" "She got what she wanted," he spits back. "They'll see what happens when cops can't do their jobs without worrying about offending someone." Meanwhile, in a quieter corridor, Daniel speaks softly to a reporter from the city's black newspaper. "I've been complicit in a system that judges people based on appearance rather than actions. That stops today, at least for me." Back inside, Commissioner Williams presents Amara with the first draft of departmental reforms, including revised detention protocols, mandatory body cameras, and community oversight committees. "This is just the beginning," Amara tells him. "Real change takes sustained effort, not just policy revisions." The commissioner nods. "For what it's worth, I believe Bryant's termination sends a powerful message throughout the department." "It's not about one officer," Amara responds. "It's about dismantling the culture that produced him and would have created more like him." One officer chose accountability, the other chose denial, and the ripples from both choices are just beginning to spread. 3 months later, the effects of what media now calls the Collins incident continue to transform the department and beyond. At the police academy, new recruits watch the security footage as part of enhanced bias training. The instructor, a veteran officer, pauses the video. "This incident changed everything for our department," she explains. "Judge Collins could have simply sought personal retribution against these officers. Instead, she used her position to demand systemic changes. The training now includes extensive modules on implicit bias, de-escalation techniques, and community engagement, developed with input from civil rights organizations and community leaders." Across town, former Officer Daniels speaks to a community forum, sharing his perspective on the culture that led to the incident. "We were trained to see threats everywhere," he admits to the diverse audience. "That mindset created a bubble where we stopped seeing people as individuals." A community member asks, "Do you think these reforms will actually stick?" "They have to," Daniels responds. "Judge Collins created a quarterly review system that tracks every stop, search, and arrest for patterns of bias. The data doesn't lie." Meanwhile, Commissioner Williams presents progress reports to Judge Collins in her chambers. Complaint rates are down 40%, he notes. Use of force incidents have decreased by nearly a third. Amara reviews the statistics and the demographic breakdown of those numbers. More consistent across racial and economic lines, the commissioner acknowledges. The disparities haven't disappeared entirely, but they're significantly reduced. Progress, not perfection, Amara observes. Continue the quarterly reviews and community feedback sessions. The commissioner hesitates before adding, "The reforms you've implemented here are being studied by departments in 3 neighboring states." Amara nods, satisfied. "That was always the goal, Commissioner. Systemic problems require systemic solutions." In a final scene, Bryant sits in a bar watching news coverage of the department's transformation. A former colleague stops by his table. "Tough break, Bryant?" the officer offers awkwardly. Bryant gestures bitterly at the television. "All this because of one judge who couldn't handle being questioned." The officer shakes his head. "No, man. All this because you couldn't see past your own bias to recognize a federal judge standing right in front of you. The handcuffs were on the wrong wrists that day." Outside the bar, patrol officers wear newly mandated body cameras. One officer stops to chat with neighborhood residents, part of the community engagement initiative now required for all patrol shifts. A national police leadership conference features a panel discussion titled The Collins Protocols: Transforming Department Culture Through Accountability. Police chiefs from across the country fill the room, taking notes on implementation strategies. In the courthouse parking lot, Judge Collins' nameplate now marks her reserved space. As she walks toward the entrance, the same security guards who witnessed her humiliation now greet her with respect and recognition. The handcuffs that once restrained a judge have now unshackled an entire system from its worst practices. Sunlight streams through the windows of Judge Collins's chambers as she reviews case files. Her nameplate now prominently displayed on her door and reserved parking space. Court Clerk Reynolds enters with coffee and the morning's schedule. Judge Collins, you have the police department's annual review hearing at 10, followed by your mentorship lunch with law students at noon. Amara smiles. Thank you, Thomas. Has the commissioner submitted the quarterly data? Yes, Your Honor. The statistics continue to show improvement. Civilian complaints down 60% year over year, use of force incidents reduced by half, and diversity in new academy classes at an all-time high. Amara nods, pleased but not surprised. And how is Officer Daniels doing in his new role? Excelling, from what I hear. His community engagement program is being implemented citywide. After returning from his suspension, Daniels had requested transfer to community outreach, where he now leads initiatives connecting officers with neighborhood residents before crises occur. Later that morning, Amara parks in her reserved space and walks confidently toward the courthouse entrance. Unlike a year ago, officers nod respectfully as she passes. At the security checkpoint, a young female officer greets her by name. Good morning, Judge Collins. Good morning, Officer Taylor. How's your sister enjoying law school? Loving it, Your Honor, thanks to your recommendation letter. Inside, Amara presides over the police department's annual review. Commissioner Williams presents comprehensive reforms implemented over the past year, new training protocols, accountability measures, and community oversight boards. The Collins Protocols, as they're now known nationally, have been adopted by 15 departments nationwide. What happened last year was a turning point, not just for our department, but potentially for policing across the country. After the hearing, Amara meets with law students in the courthouse cafeteria. Among them sits a young black woman who reminds Amara of herself 20 years earlier. Judge Collins, the student begins hesitantly. Many of us watched what happened to you last year. How did you remain so composed when they were treating you that way? Amara considers the question carefully. I recognized a larger opportunity. In that moment, I wasn't just Amara Collins being mistreated. I was someone with the power to create lasting change. Sometimes our personal humiliation can become a catalyst for systemic transformation. The student nods thoughtfully. But it's not fair that it took a judge being handcuffed for people to finally listen. You're absolutely right, Amara agrees. It's not fair. Which is why our work isn't finished. The real challenge is creating a system that responds with equal justice, whether the person being mistreated is a federal judge or someone without privilege, power, or a platform. Later that afternoon, Amara visits the community center where Daniels runs his outreach program. Officers and community members work together, breaking down barriers through conversation and shared goals. Daniels approaches hesitantly. Judge Collins, I didn't expect to see you here today. I like to see the results of our work firsthand, she explains. This program is making a real difference. Daniels nods, his expression solemn. I still think about that day. How differently I could have handled it. The past remains instructive, Amara replies, but your focus on the future is what matters now. As sunset falls across the city, Amara stands on the courthouse steps where she was once handcuffed. The evening news plays a retrospective about the changes implemented since the Collins incident. Several major cities have adopted similar reforms, with measurable decreases in biased policing. A custodian approaches as Amara gazes at the horizon. Heading home, Judge Collins? Just reflecting, she replies with a smile. Sometimes justice works in unexpected ways. If this story of justice and transformation moved you, don't keep it to yourself. Hit that like button right now to help more people discover Judge Collins's powerful journey. Subscribe to PAP Stories for more compelling narratives that expose injustice and celebrate those brave enough to fight it. We bring you the stories that matter, stories that challenge systems, change perspectives, and champion accountability. Turn on notifications so you never miss our weekly releases. Remember, every subscription supports our mission to shine light on stories that would otherwise remain in darkness. Join our community of justice seekers today because truth is worth following. PAP Stories, revealing truth, demanding justice, making change.